All right, welcome back to the Amato Report. Joining me once again, as he often does, is law enforcement professional, founder, CEO of the nonprofit InvestUSA, which provides bulletproof vests for police departments worldwide and, of course, here in America. He's also an advisor to President Trump, the White House, on law enforcement. Michael Letts. Michael, there's so much we could talk about. Comey, uh, the shooting in Texas. Let's focus on the tragedy, the shooting of at the ICE location in Texas.
Sure.
Uh, what's the president telling you about this? What are you hearing?
Well, here's what we've got. Let's just boil it down to what it really is, and then we'll expand upon it. It is nothing but an additional venting of the hatred that the ideological left has for anything that is positive that the administration is doing. And of course, it all boils down to the same reason. They are beyond themselves about being out of power. They can't accomplish their objective. Remember, what is their objective? What have they demonstrated for decades? They want full control, Rick. They don't want you to have the ability to fight back. So let's take your firearm away from you. Let's tell you where you can live, what you can do, what work you can have. We're going to take your money, give it to other people because we believe in social equity, and we're going to give it to illegal immigrants, all that kind of stuff. Platforms that the American public has soundly rejected. That's why they're in the mess that they are today.
Let me interject 1 second.
Sure.
The irony of what you just said, Michael. There's an article written today, I believe, at Real Clear Politics by Hollywood filmmaker Roger Simon, former Democrat, now Republican. And he says we are seeing the troubled and the extreme elements on the left reacting the way they are because the left has lost their argument. And that's,
Exactly.
but I interjected because it sounded so ironic what you just said. So my apologies.
And you're exactly right. No, 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 no. They're desperate to get it back. Here's the problem that we need to put in context, and then we're going to talk about the Dallas thing real quickly. But would you become that bitter
Yeah.
over the fact that you've lost something? The bitterness turns and it's got to be done something. This is psychological. It doesn't matter what the issue is. It's the same for all of us. When you get that consumed with bitterness, it turns into hatred and then violence, and they have to do something with it. So what have they tried to convince their segment of people ideology to do? Anything that's being said positive about the administration, go after it. It's fair game. If they say they're reducing crime because they're removing illegals, go after that. Try to find a way to make that either look bad or attack it. And so that goes into what we're talking about with Dallas. So with that mindset, they have tried to convince their following that look, this is saving America. We have got to stop this dictator who is snatching little kids off the street, who only came here for a better life, and he's trying to ruin it and destroy it for all of us. You have to stop this particular program. So you have the left that are so consumed with hatred, they've lost their ability to have rational common sense. They can't think rationally. So they think they're doing a favor. So they load up, go to these eye centers. Now they're getting a little more sophisticated, although they're not that sophisticated. We're going to talk about why. But they decide they're going to, okay, we're going to shoot these bad ICE officers and save our country and save the democracy. Well, here's the mistakes that they made to begin with. He gets on the roof, he gets into a sniper position. He doesn't even know who he's shooting at because when the vehicle, the transport pulls up, it's unmarked, it has no windows, so he doesn't know if there's ICE agents. He's thinking there's a bunch of ICE agents in there. There's not. There's the detainees, the people he's trying to save. That's the ones he killed. I mean, he killed one, injured two in there. But for good measure, I mean, he's thinking he has hit some ICE officers. For good measure, he decides to pivot the rifle and let's shoot at some of the windows. Surely there's some secretaries or some ICE agent or somebody must be standing there. I might get lucky and knock a few more of them in, do some more damage to ICE.
Hmm.
Now, he turns the gun on himself and he kills himself. But what does the left do? Do they allow that to be portrayed? That look at what this hatred is doing to our country?
Yeah.
No, they try to give a positive. They say he left a note. And here's what the note said. He understood that these ICE agents were on the take. They were actually getting paid to help bring in human sex traffickers and children. and he was going to that detention camp to set the record straight and to kill these rogue ICE agents. First of all, if there are any merit to the story, where's the list? What rogue agents are we talking about? And second of all, show me that those were the agents that were coming into the parking lot at the time that you were going to target to save the children. Of course, they can't do that, Rick. It's all a bogus another line. But the reason why we're having this conversation is it shows you to what extent they're willing to go, trying to take a horrific thing that one of their followers did, one of their liberal leftist ideologists did, and try to make it sound like it was a good thing. He was trying to save children. Rick, I will tell you, it just goes to show you,
Oh,
can you get any crazier? I just proves the point that I just made. When you're that consumed with bitterness and anger, you can't think rationally or have any common sense anymore.
you
And
know,
that's what's so scary.
that is scary, and I missed that point. Thank you for really sharing that because that's huge, and it's related, very much related to something I'd like to get your take on. Um, we go back very recent in history. I mean, like a week ago, a couple days ago, not even. We see Governor Newsom of California, uh, saying extreme negative comments about ICE, talking about
Right.
them, comparing them to bank robbers wearing masks, saying no bank robbers allowed in our state. Uh, we telling people to confront ICE, and then we see CNN, their commentators going on and saying confront ICE, don't let them get away with what they're up to. And that has to have an influence on the mentally fragile, the mentally extreme, if you will. Is there any, can we expect to see any reaction from the president to come
Yes.
out against politicians and legacy media making these horrific comments?
You think you're going to see, Rick? First of all, you're going to see an increased discussion to put pressure to set the stage for going after mainstream media. I think this administration just had enough. And what do we mean by that? Mainstream media is regulated by the FCC.
Yeah,
You know, these radio waves, these TV waves that carry the signal didn't just suddenly grow like on a tree and appear on their own. A lot of tax dollars in the early days went into building that infrastructure so that we could have that opportunity. Then we decided as taxpayers that those who use those radio waves should have some governance. You can't just use them to set up drug deals, sell drugs, push pornography, whatever you want to do. So we created the FCC, the Federal Communications Division, to issue licenses. And the license was for this. We're not trying to tell you what you can and can't say, other than when it comes to the news, you have to make sure it's objective and factual and accurate. And then when you do programming, it can't be beyond community standards.
yeah,
It can't be running a porn shop or whatever it is type situation. And that's what those licenses were initially issued. Everything was fine. But over the years, Rick, the mainstream media has shifted from factual, objective news to narrative.
yeah,
We've gotten to the point now to where it's so bad, it's promoting just what you and I are talking about. It's promoting the hatred, it's promoting the violence. They shouldn't be doing that at taxpayer expense. And so you're going to see the president move for, if you can't clean up your act where it's supposed to be with the FCC, maybe it's time to pull those licenses and give them to somebody else. So that's one of the first things you're going to see with mainstream media. The second thing you're going to talk about is, and this is something that we as a country need to get engaged with here, Rick. You know, we used to use just the blanket term. It's First Amendment. I believe in the First Amendment. I'm just one of the strongest proponents of the First Amendment, Rick. But the First Amendment has been misconstrued as not you have carte blanche to say anything you so desire.
yeah,
You say, well, why would you make that statement? You have known, we all have known ever since growing up, you can't holler fire in a crowded theater.
yeah,
And why is that? Because people panic, they rush to the exit, they stomp on people, people get injured, people die for that matter, especially when it's false. When there's no fire, you're just doing it for pranks. So freedom of speech doesn't mean everything you say is guaranteed to be protected. That includes what's going on now. When you try to incite violence or praise people who have been attacked violently because of their ideology or their thoughts or their point of view, you've gone beyond the First Amendment. And it's time that we start holding people accountable for that. The reason why I say it's time for us to engage in conversation is I realize even among conservatives, there's a little touchiness. Let's not mess with the First Amendment because I don't want somebody to tell me I can't say this or that. Well, then let's together as a nation decide what is protected under First Amendment and what is not. I don't think anybody thinks it's protected for me to get on the airways and says, I think every one of you should go find XYZ and shoot them by 5 o'clock today. I don't think anybody believes that's a First Amendment protected speech. But we do need to get it defined and we need to start enforcing it, Rick.
Michael, you said it so well. And what I like about what you said is you said it in a way that was not hateful or confrontational. You said it in a way that was accurate, but also in a common sense fashion. If you have the president's ear, and I know you do, if there's any way you could just, I'd be appreciative if you'd let him know that, remind him that when he comes out with this message, if he can do it in a uniting way, because
Right.
it's so tempting to do it in a confrontational way, given what all he's been the subject of with their attacks. But boy, we need a uniter, and I think left of center, center, and of course right of center would all buy into that message in that fashion. That's my take.
I think you're right, Rick. And let me tell you what I'm hearing across the country because we're all over the country handing out vests and all that kind of other
Yeah.
things. And what I'm hearing from a lot of people is we know that we have to stand for the right message. We're not compromising our message. But can we get to where we can become united instead of being so hateful and divided and antagonists each other? Quite frankly, I believe we can, Rick, because I believe, as Charlie did, it's a matter of debating and discussing, not a matter of listening to the far left. Or, quite frankly, sometimes you have those that get too far on the right. I hate to say that because, I'm leaning that way sometimes too. But make sure you, from a scriptural standpoint, do everything with love. I mean, what I mean by love,
I like it.
I'm not talking about lovey-dovey. I'm just talking about love means I respect your ideas, you respect mine. Maybe we could find common ground. But if we don't find common ground, we can shake hands, go have a glass of tea together, and discuss sports or something else. We don't have to be confrontational and hatred to those who we don't agree with.
Wow, so well put. So well put. I
Thank you,
don't
Rick.
know if you're able to, if it's appropriate for you to convey that,
Oh,
but
I am. Trust me, I am. Now, there are different styles, and I understand sometimes people like to, especially I think New York prides itself on that.
I,
The
I, I,
Bronx.
I was looking for the right way to say that, but yeah.
I think they pride themselves on that, and I get that. I understand that. Sometimes South Carolina prides itself on being, the first to succeed from the Union. So I understand that, there's always a little independence, and I like to do things my way, but we have to look beyond ourselves. What's best for the country at this stage? And that's the most important thing.
Yeah. All right, Michael Letts, founder, CEO of InvestUSA. Again, folks, if you're wondering why he's donating bulletproof vests, it was one of the first items to be cut from the budget of police departments during uh, default the police movement, or defund the police movement, I should say. Uh, Michael Letts, thank you for joining us.
Thank you, Rick. God bless you. God bless America. You're making a difference. So let's keep up the good work. Together, we're going to make this thing work.
Thank you, Michael. Back with more of the Amato Report after this.